one of the problems I had when I started my cake business was if somebody wants to order 12 cupcakes, how much flour, how much butter do I have to use? What's the recipe for making exactly 12 cupcakes without having to waste my ingredients? So this video is for you if those are your questions. This recipe will make you exactly 12 cupcakes. So guys, today I'm going to show you how I make my ultimate vanilla cake. Yes, this cake can also pass for cupcakes and cake. It depends on how much you want to make. And in this particular video I made 3 batches because I was trying to bake for my order the next day, but I'm going to give you the recipe. What I'm trying to say is that I tripled the recipe, if you understand what I mean. So I'm going to give you the recipe for just a batch. I'm going to give you a recipe for just a batch, and that batch makes exactly 12 cupcakes. At the same time, if you're going to make that batch into a whole cake, it makes an 8-inch cake. So guys, I start with 200 grams of butter, and you want to make sure the butter is melted to a point, not completely melted, but like melted to a point. That way your sugar dissolves easily. And then to 200 grams of butter, I added a cup of sugar. And the trick to this recipe is to add the cups of sugar, like the cup of sugar, divide it into 2, so you can add it in 2 batches. Like, don't add it all at once, add half at first and then add the other half. Yes, that way it mixes better. And the fact that the butter was kind of very softened before you start to work with it is going to make the sugar melt and dissolve in your batter faster and give you a better consistency, and your cake will be fluffy and really nice. So for this recipe you also need 3 eggs. The reason why I have 9 eggs here is that, you know, I told you at the beginning of this video that I tripled this recipe because I didn't want to like mix twice, and I wanted to shoot a video, you know, I was lazy. Anyway, so for this recipe you need 3 eggs, and those 3 eggs you need to add them at intervals. So what you do is, what I did here is I'm adding 3 first, and then I'll scrape the sides of the bowl and add 3 again and scrape the sides of the bowl and then add the remaining 3. But in your case, what you're going to do is you're going to add 1, mix for a few seconds or like 1 minute, and then scrape the sides of the bowl, add the other one, and then add the third one. That's how you're gonna do it, and then it's going to give you this mixture that is well put together. The trick to making a good vanilla cake is to make sure like your sugar and your butter are well incorporated together before you even add your eggs, because once you add your eggs, like the consistency changes. So the mixing, it's I don't know, I hope you guys understand me. Just make sure you cream your sugar and butter really well enough before you start to add your eggs. You understand? Okay. Okay, so for this recipe you need 2 cups of flour, and to 2 cups of flour you need a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. Yes, and then 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then you're going to stir that together, and you have to make sure your butter is sifted. So the trick to getting it fluffy and not like collapsing all of the air you beat into your creamy mixture is to add half of your flour at first. Yes, add half of your flour and then put the mixer on very low speed. So to that, guys, you're going to add half a cup of buttermilk. Yes, half a cup of buttermilk, and then you're going to add 1 tablespoon of oil, and then you're going to beat slowly. Note that my mixer is not this fast. It's because this video has been fast forwarded. So at this stage, once it mixes and you don't want to over mix, you're going to stop your mixer and then scrape the sides of your bowl, as well as you're going to scrape your paddle attachment. You're going to scrape the excess batter off of your paddle attachment, and then you're going to detach your baking bowl from the mixer, and then we're going to mix the remaining flour into our batter by hand. And the reason why you're doing that is because you don't want to overmix. It is very easy to overmix your batter if you are using a mixer. So right now we're going to use our hands. So we're going to pour the remaining flour into this bowl, and then we are going to stir. And you do not want to stir like you're stirring amala. You just want to fold it in, and then like until it is incorporated. You don't want to over stir. You just want to stir just until it is incorporated and it is smooth. So that's all we are going to do. So obviously we're not going to bake all of this cake batter into cupcakes. I'm just going to separate a little that we're going to bake into cupcakes, because I made times 3, like I told you guys in the beginning. I made 3 batches of this recipe because I wanted to bake for my customer the next day. So guys, now I'm going to separate some that I'm going to color with yellow food coloring into a bowl, and then I'm going to keep that aside. So now I'm adding some yellow food coloring and I'm going to stir it together. So when I was done, I sprinkled some coconut flakes on top of it, and then I baked it. And this was my cupcakes when they were done, and they were so nice and so gorgeous and so delicious. So if you wanted to make this just vanilla, you don't need to sprinkle coconut on it, because I just wanted some coconut flakes on mine. So this is all, and I made exactly 12 cupcakes. And notice my cupcakes are not, my muffin cups are not very tiny. It's not those very tiny ones. So if you were making those very tiny ones, it will make you about maybe 13 or 14, which is still okay. You can munch on the rest while you pack the remaining 12 for your customer. Bye guys, thank you for always watching my videos.